Welcome to Adekyn Plays Railway Empire. All right, welcome back to part three of our Gold Rush scenario playthrough. And we've been building our four city cluster. In part one, we set up the cluster. In part two, we set up the movement of raw materials into the cluster to feed the industries and did a bunch of industry balancing so that we had a balance of industries in our cities. Our cities are growing. We're getting good growth in three of the cities: Carson City, Shasta, and Sacramento. We've been having some troubles in San Francisco, and I think I want to check out one thing that's been bothering me. It seems like we've been having a lot of delays right in here. Trains kind of stacking and stopping for no reason. I want to follow this up and see if I can figure out why that is. So I want to go off this freight line, follow this freight line, goes over this, down through here. It splits off like so. And I want to look at the signals because I think we have the problem we do. Right here it splits. So they should be coming in like this and going back like this. But if you'll notice, there's no red signal on that one. So if we go down here and put in a signal with a red marker, now when they come out, they'll take this right lane. And I think what's been happening is our freight from Sacramento has been coming back on that incorrect lane, and we've actually had to wait for the train to come all the way out before our San Francisco train can go in or another Sacramento train. And the only reason Sacramento is growing is it's getting enough stuff from the other side, from the other cities. But San Francisco is getting choked off. It's not getting a fast enough supply of the things it needs from the warehouse. I'm hoping that that little fix right there will help us with San Francisco. So let's just mark this. San Francisco is at 44%. That's just 43%. That's just pitiful. So let's see what it is after we do some building down here. So we want to set up another four city cluster. We're going to do it in LA, San Diego, Yuma, and we could go up to Kingman and make a circle. I think I'd like to go in a straight line just to show you one of those out to Tucson. So we're going to have a straight line, and we're going to have it stop. Okay, we're going to have it set so that all of our passenger lines, our passenger slash freight lines, our non raw material lines, are down here so that the top of the line defines the top of this. In other words, I don't want any of the tracks. We're going to have to build six lines, but I don't want any of them to go up above where our passenger line is. I want them all to run underneath, if you will, over here toward the ocean, so that we can have freight lines running across the top, freight stations over the top, or I guess it would be the eastern side of these cities. So because most of our resources will be coming from up here, they'll be coming down this way. So we want to set up our freight line running all the way across on the top, and we need to build six direct lines down here. We want them all on the bottom, and the water gets tight on us. So this area in here is actually, it shows, I guess it's like a giant beach or something, but it's very hard to build on some of this. So we have to be tight in the way we do this and make sure we get through this properly. So let us see what we can do. So we'll start out with San Diego. And San Diego is going to be, we're going to take it out of the top one we have to, and top to top, if you will. Get it as high as it can go. That looks good. We'll double track it above it to give us more room. Fly tower and our all important signals. let's give that one, pardon me, sorry, I'm having trouble with my voice. Let's give this one 4 trains. And you'll notice I picked the Dragon. I actually took the freight train. We should have done that. Frankly, we should have done that before. Because these lines, while they are hauling a lot of passengers and there you see all passengers, will be freight coming in here, particularly after we get going. And when you put freight on an express train or express engine, it just doesn't work. So let's run our San Diego to Yuma line. We need to use the second one for that one. And we want to have it as close to that as we can get it. And we'll have to double track it underneath it. That's okay. At least we know we've gotten as close to it as we can to that farm without making some big loop up through there. So that should be good. We'll put our signals here. And let's run 6 trains here. That's a pretty long line. Three, 4, 5, and 6. There's 2 of our lines ready. And now we go to our third one, which will be in Tucson. We want to keep that top one in case we want to hook it up to another city outside of our cluster since it's on the end. And we need to run this one into the second one, looks like. And I think I'm going to kind of stop recording for a moment and finish this off. This has got to be boring. It's boring me. So I'll be back in a minute after I get the 6 lines set up, and then we can go from there, and I'll show you how our strategy unfolds. All right, welcome back. We fast forwarded a little bit, and I've got our cluster all set up, and I want to walk you through it so you can see what it looks like. But if you look at it from a distance, it just looks like a big, long track, and it kind of is. But when you get down into it, you can see all that blue, lots of trains running. We've got some very long lines here. Should make tons of money. And let me walk you through what this thing looks like. So we have direct lines, 6 direct lines, and the first ones are easy. The top one here, LA San Diego. You saw that one earlier, San Diego to Yuma, Yuma to Tucson. So let's go back to San Diego, and we have a line running from San Diego to Tucson that runs through here. It's at kind of that third and fourth one in. And here you can kind of see now. This to me, that's a train line. That's what a train line should look like, with lots of trains on it, lots of activity. Um, None of them getting in each other's way. They're all just flying along because they all have their own dedicated lines. So these are all dedicated lines. The only thing we had to do that was funky a little bit was we had to do a crossover right here. We had to do a bridge because the either one or the other into Yuma had to go across the top, either San Diego to Yuma or not San Diego, the LA to Yuma or the San Diego to Tucson. One of the two they had to cross. There was no way to do them all straight out like that, but no matter, it actually kind of looks kind of cool, and this might be a good place if we do one of those ride-alongs to ride along in here and kind of check this out around Yuma. But we have 6 dedicated lines carrying passengers and freight point to point between our cities. Now, our task is to develop this similar to the way we did our last cluster and basically move all the freight in that's needed and to uh, balance out our cities because right now it's awful. It's meat, 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 and guess what? Meat. That couldn't be any worse. So we're going to fix that and balance these guys out so that they're producing different things. And we're going to use warehouses to bring these in and help us be organized. And we're also going to try to be very, very organized in the way we link up to these cities so that it's very clean and very simple how we do it. So what we're going to do, first thing we're going to do is catch up on our research a little bit. Okay, so what we're going to do is put a large freight station in each one of these, and I'm going to use a large just for the unloading time, so we won't need all the lines probably, but we're going to set up lines of 4 large freight stations, all of them out here to the west or north, however you want to look at this, of these cities. I'm sorry, east. Forgive me, I'm from the East Coast. The ocean's on the wrong side here. So we're going to go up here and put in 4 large freight stations. Well, they're just train stations, but we're going to call them freight. One, two, three, and one in Tucson. Now we're going to hook all these up with a line that can move in these stations and turn around. So in other words, it's going to be what I call a bidirectional line. Of course, all these are bidirectional, but we're going to have a line that runs out here, a double track line that runs, and that's going to be basically our line for receiving uh, goods from all these different raw resources, which are almost all of them are up here above us as we're looking at it now. We have two down here that are below us, and the logs will probably use the one below us since there are not any logs anywhere close. The cattle, we may just let this cattle continue to feed Tucson over land because it's so close. But I think we'll probably end up grabbing cattle up here and bringing it in somehow, or here, and bringing it into. We'll only bring one, but wherever it is, we'll bring it into one of our warehouses. And I think probably what we'll do as a starting point is put a warehouse. Well, let's run our lines first so we can see what we have to work with. So let's run our double tracks. And then the question becomes, which one do we want to use? And I think what I'd like to do is actually use the bottom two, because we're not going to need them for otherwise. I'd like to use the bottom two as a double track, and that leaves these top two, um, as we're looking at it, available in case we want to run something directly into the city, which we may well do at some point. So planning ahead for that, let's just go ahead and use these bottom two and hook these up. I think I've already missed San Diego. There it is. Like so. Looks good. And now, as I said, these are going to be with crossovers because we want to be able to turn around in these stations and because we're going to be running two specific stations with this freight that comes in from our warehouses. So we want to be able to go to that station and turn around and head back where we came from, as opposed to these point-to-point things we're running down here, which only run literally back and forth between uh, two specific cities. Okay, there's one. Build the second one down here from San Diego to Yuma. This one may have to make a little circle. Let's start over. Since we have that milk in the way, we're going to start on the bottom. Run it as close as we can to it. Okay. And our crossover for this will have to be out here on the other side of the bridge, just the way we did the other lines, similarly. Okay, that one looks pretty good. You notice I'm not creating any trains to run these because they're not actually going to be running trains per se on these lines. These lines are going to have trains hook up with them, certainly, but that's going to be the ones who come from the warehouse. All right, so that gives us our basic freight line. It was that simple. Now, what we're going to do is set up warehouses up here that feed in at different points on this, and it really doesn't matter where they feed in because we have this line that you can pass through the stations. You can literally go down here, join up here, and go all the way to Tucson if you need to, or just over to LA, whatever suits your fancy. So now the thing to figure out is where do we want to put our warehouses to make them the easiest to get to and be able to build our lines in here. And the good news is it's higher up here than it is down here, obviously, on the beach. So we're going to be having a warehouse with our goods running downhill into the line, and then we'll be deadheading back up, which will be easy to pull for the engine. So everything should run very smoothly. And let's think about what we're going to have in these things. If we think about our phase one goods, those are really cattle, corn, wheat, which is going to have to come from way up here. That's the closest wheat. That's okay. It looks like most of our phase one goods are over here. Logs are way over here. Logs and cattle over here. There's corn over here too. Oh, well, here's a good spot too. This might be even better to do as our phase one. Maybe we can bring it in. I think river's in an awkward place. We need to find a good place to join up with it and put our first warehouse. And we are going to go to the trouble of running this either over top to the warehouse or around to the warehouse. We're not going to run them directly. I say that. I'm going to put a probably on that statement. Let's see. I'll tell you what, I think it'd be silly not to. We're going to run a station from here, and I think we can either jump it over and join it, or I think the easiest thing would actually be to loop around Tucson, come in the back, and dump it off in our freight station there in Tucson because uh, the logs obviously can come through here and go to wherever we need them, and they'll actually want to go to all four cities because they all use logs. But the the cattle, we can just have our meat processing plant in Tucson, which just makes sense since it's so close. And it does make sense that we would make money from them. So why don't we buy them? Well, they're cheap, dirt cheap for that one. This one will cost more. But not bad. All right, set up a station that'll pick up both of them. Okay, it'll actually be easier over here. And we're going to run, and before I forget it, because that's something I haven't done at all, I've got to set up my maintenance. I might as well bite the bullet and do it on everything. Before we start seeing trains breaking down all over the place. Okay, good. And now let's run a line. I think I want to run. We're just going to run the one line. Run it into this guy right here. Give them supplies, and now we can set up lines that are going to run from here. Oh, and you know what? I've got 4 lines. That should be running 4 lines. Let's go back a little bit. There we go. Now we should be able to run all 4 lines out of that same track, out of that station, and onto the same track. Drive on the right, please. So now let's use a station for each one. So we'll do LA, San Diego, Yuma, and Tucson. So we'll set up a line. And this allows us to require them to be full. And go to our LA freight. Set the line from here. Line 2, be full. San Diego. And you can see they're shipping cattle right now. We're going to change that eventually. Line 3, be full. Go to Yuma. And line 4. And let's get an idea of how many logs we need. Use the small ones need 0.3. Let's call it a half. 2, 3. We need at least 2 a week. 3.5. Let's bump it up 1. Okay. I didn't even. Okay, I've got something wrong here. These tracks. Here it is. Classic, isn't it? Forgot to put that on there. Now, see, that train just takes right off. Happy as can be. And we'll double check. We're not going to start throwing too many trains out here because you can get, you know how easy it is for me to get carried away with that. So we're going to wait and see how we look on these things. So now we have to decide where do we want our main warehouse with our kind of our phase 1 goods. So we've got 2 of the 4. The others are corn and wheat. So I want to have a place where we can pull wheat and corn, and I think it would make sense to pull cotton because that's going to come up quickly as textiles. Wheat, corn, cotton, and then we want to set up. Wouldn't be bad to set up a distillery down here as well. Where are we on that? I haven't even thought about our objectives. And we're making it. Look at our Carson City. It's already at 99,000. So that's looking great. We've already got 2 hit the 80,000. So we're looking good there. And let's just, while we're here, let's check and see how we're doing. It's still low. Still low. Got work to do on San Francisco. But right now, I have to confess I'm more interested in this line over here. Milk would be good. Let's pull in milk, cotton, corn, and wheat. That's four. We could pull a couple more, so I would think a logical place to put it would probably be right around here and run it in here, kind of centrally located. That makes reasonable sense. We'll say it does. So whoops, let's put a warehouse in here. And we'll set it up to run out of all four. The first thing we'll do is set it up to go in both directions. Now remember our rule, we build our crossover, then we check our nearest signal and make sure that it is set to do not come this way. And I want to run this as a double line. Down to here like so. Then put signaling on it. It says drive on the right and come on down as far as you can. We're going to need a supply tower. Well, we don't really have to have one on this end. It's really this end up here that we're going to want a supply tower. So before we forget that, let's just go ahead and build that out. I don't think I have it long enough. What in the world was that? I don't know where that came from. There we go. Okay, we've got the ability to go that way to Yuma and Tucson. Now we need to be able to go to San Diego and LA. And I want to, let's see. Yeah, they're always going to go that way. So I think what we'll do instead of, we could run this track down and then split off it, but rather than doing that, let's just run two more tracks down like this. Okay. Crossover. Look at our signals and say, don't come this way. And double our track back up here, like so. And we must have our crossovers here so we can use both stations, both platforms. Okay. So platform one will be Yuma, two will be Tucson, San Diego, LA, San Diego, Yuma, Tucson. Yep, sounds good. And we will run into this puppy. We will do wheat, corn, cotton, sugar, milk, and fruit. And that'll give us the ability. We're all going to make maintenance on it in case we need it. And stop again. Think about it. Okay. So I hope you're getting the idea that we've got here's 6 resources that we're going to be able to funnel into these cities. And in fact, the way they load is going to almost automatically balance for us what needs to go where. So we're going to have organized lines running in and out. We're going to have probably just a couple of trains running here, a couple here, probably maybe 6 out here and 4 to 6 out here because it's longer. These will obviously make quicker trips, and that will keep those 6 things hopping to the right places in our midst, and we can change our industries, and the way it ships out of here will get kind of, if you will, straightened out for us. It will actually work the way we want it to work. So let's build some of those up, and we'll probably call it a day on this particular video at that point. So first thing we want to do is buy this thing if we can. It's dirt cheap. That's good. I want to look right here. Here's corn right next to it. We'll buy that one. We'll set up a line. And that line is going to run all the way down here. And let's think. If that's corn and wheat, get fruit and fruit and sugar here. So that's 4. What else do we need? We need cotton. We'll get cotton on a short run. And the other thing we were going to keep was milk. Milk's down here, which is kind of an oddball, or it's up here, or over here. We could actually run it out of the same farm if we wanted to. But I think that's putting too much pressure on it. Logistically, even though it seems crazy, it would actually be easier to run it down from here than up from here. It almost seems crazy to run it up and then over, but I think what we could do possibly Oh, look at that. That would be a little strange to run it up and then back down, but it actually would not be a bad plan. Scoot it over here. That's what we're going to do. And we're going to buy this milk. Thank you. And we're going to buy a cotton field. This one looks nice. Thank you. And we've got milk and cotton. What else do we need? And we need these two over here. Buy that. Buy that. Now we can control how much comes out of all of those. This is lovely. So, where were we? Oh, yeah. Large train station. Run it out of here. Let's see. Milk's going to come from over here. Cotton can come here. We'll use this one for that guy. And then our other one will come in on that fourth one. Okay. Let's go around the mountains instead of through them. Beautiful. This one is a long haul. I'm going to make it a repair station. And I'm going to give it an extra supply tower about halfway down, in addition to the one that meets up with down at the bottom. There we go. Okay, so once again, I'm going to take a little recording break here. I'm going to go ahead and set up running these lines into the warehouse, and I'll come back before I start setting up the trains that go out to the city. I'll come back and we can rejoin. But this is going to be a little boring, so let's take a little recording break, and I'll meet you back in momentarily. All right, welcome back. That didn't take as long as I thought it might, but it was pretty boring. So we've got a line running down from our corn and wheat into our warehouse, from our fruit and sugar into our warehouse, from our cotton into the warehouse, and our milk into the warehouse. And I'm going to set up the warehouse now to accept max on all of these, and we're just going to go ahead and kind of stock up on them. We don't need some of these. We do not need yet, but we will soon enough, and they'll certainly be ready when we do. All right, so now we need to set up our lines to bring the goods in. So let's set up a line from here. Always be full to our warehouse. We'll grab that conductor while he's there. And we'll clone this one a couple of times. Okay. Then we're going to set up our line from here. Always be full. to our warehouse. Clone him a couple of times. We'll set up a line from our ranch, from our milk to the warehouse. Maybe giving him one helper. And what are we missing? Cotton. Set up a line from the cotton to the warehouse. And that's a short enough line. One should do it. Okay, so now all we have to do is start distributing this stuff out as appropriate to the cities. So we'll set up a line and we'll use runway track 4 and we'll go to LA. And we'll give we'll come back and add some more later. And we'll set up a line from track 3. Oops. To San Diego. And we don't want to require these to be full because we want to keep those lanes free for the goods coming in. We don't want any surprises. It's track 3. Then we'll set up one from track 2. To Yuma. And we'll set up one from track 1 to Tucson. And definitely give him some help. So this warehouse is going to be very busy, just like the one we have over here. But this one's, you can see we've got a little more space. It's actually nicer because of the space. And the thing we need to check on are all our trains moving, and they do seem to be moving quite nicely. This one's waiting to come on, but that's fine. It's just what it should be doing. Lovely, lovely. And let's see. Let's give LA a little more help. Run 3 to LA, 2 to San Diego, 1 to Yuma, and maybe 4 to Tucson. You can see we're filling up on the stuff we don't need, which makes perfect sense. And I think that would be a good place to stop this one. Let me grab this research real fast. And when we come back for part 4, we will start optimizing these industries and go back and figure out a couple of little problems we've got going on. It looks like we've got a long enough run there. We need a supply tower. Okay, good deal. So thank you for joining me. I hope this was enjoyable. I hope this helps make you a better player. And I hope you'll join me for part 4 when we continue to develop this, our second 4-city cluster. Thank you.